Hey guys, I'm back and jumping into more viewer requests. This one is from Josie Robitaille via John Foxhome YouTube channel. Check out the link hopefully there or in the description below. This is the Paley Fest first gathering of the fans.
I'm from a small town in Ohio, and this is the music I listened to, and I was a huge Zeppelin fan. And when it came time to write the pilot and produce it, it was so important to me that it have that music and not have, all due respect to my beloved network, not have the music that's usually on that network.
Right.
And it was so important to me. I was so rabid
so
about
poppy
it that
like
in
normal.
the original draft of the pilot, I even wrote in the script, I wrote cue music, and you can take your anemic alternative pop and shove it up your ass. And the reason I wrote the scene when they're in the pilot, they have the scene where they're talking about tapes, and he's like, AC/DC, Motorhead, Metallica. And the reason I wrote that in is I said, well, if we shoot that and it gets into the pilot, then we have to use my music. Because it's in the show,
How'd
and
you
they can't
rights,
put
I
in
wonder.
some, Sarah McLachlan in the post. So I, this is, and we've had a great time. I mean, with Phil also in post production and with Bob of figuring out these songs and coming in one morning and being like, ooh, Billy Squier. What about Billy Squier? And I think it's like a real signature to the show.
Yeah.
And it's Midwestern. It's like
it is.
Two guys from Kansas in a muscle car, and this is the music they listen to. So the other night was Joe Walsh, Rocky Mountain Way, and I'm just laughing my ass off. I'm like, yeah, Rocky Mountain Way on the WB.
It also spreads because one of the editors said to me, and he's a very hip guy and really good musically. I walk into his room, we were going through songs. I said, well, do this song, this song. And 2 days later, I walk in, he goes, Bad Company's really good.
They definitely stand out from all the other shows that normally go on this channel. But they use music way more, actually, than I'd say most other shows with this channel. I consider most of the people in the Midwest, and forgive me, I'm not speaking for everyone, they're like offshoot country, but also mostly rock. And I'd have to say, if you were gonna pick a genre of music, this is definitely it. There is something about this type of music that reminds me of when I was growing up, and that there was a radio station called 98.9 The Bear, and it was all just this kind of music. So yeah, it's very accurate, and it's so funny how adamant he was. Like, that was in his head from the get-go, like, we're gonna play this kind of music. Unfortunately for our channel, we can't usually show like any of it because it's all like really popular ballads and rock songs and stuff that are so famous that we would get all of our stuff banned. But, all right, this is the last section of the Supernatural Specials number 4, which is the last of the last, which means after this, you guys will get to see us once more, both of us reacting to the continuation where we left off with Ruby and Anna and all that good stuff. So here we go. We are now diving in finally to the favorite episode or scene of the cast and crew for season 1 of Supernatural.
I'll take that shadow where the boys finally saw their father.
Yeah.
I'm incredibly proud of, because there were 4 great scenes. The scene where the boys were arming up and Dean blows at Sam and says, why do you think I got you out of Stanford in the first place? Why do you think I came to get you? Because I want us to be family again. I'll tell you, Jensen had a tough time with that, and we kind of arm wrestled over it. Dean is, he's got his walls up, and to break down that wall for just a minute to look into Dean's heart was magical for me. And then when they met Dad in the apartment and in the alley, it was just, we worked very hard. Mm-hmm. Their game of tennis improves 2,000% when they work with Jeffrey Dean or somebody like Nikki Acox.
Yeah.
We find the nuances, and and acting, it becomes the crap that it is, and it becomes real.
Yeah, sometimes I guess I can be a little protective of just of Dean and showing emotions, and I always, and as an actor, as you grow with a character on a series, you really kind of become close to it, and you protect it. I wasn't real sure how much of the layers to peel away in that scene. And I guess in that confusion, I kind of put up my own barrier. But if there was anybody to get me through it, it was Kim. So I'm glad he was there.
John, you have a favorite scene?
There was a moment in Skin that I'm proud of, and actually it sort of says something about how we tell our stories, because we're always saying, okay, we want to do this type of episode, we want to do this monster, but how would Supernatural do it? How is it special for our show? And I remember being in Kripke's palatial office of Warner Brothers.
So fountains.
Yeah, and talking through the story of Skin and the shapeshifter, and obviously, and we kicked it around and came up with that scene where shapeshifter Dean goes down in the sewer, and I remember reading some online post that some friend sent me that someone else, a fan, was watching the show and giving her impressions as she, oh my God, Dean's taking his shirt off. And then followed immediately by, oh my God, he's taking his skin off. And I knew we had it. And I was very pleased with that.
All the things we do. It's more of a shot. And it was in Dead in the Water. I saved the little boy out of the lake.
That had Amy Acker, I think, in it.
And coming up out of the water. And it was a slow motion shot. It was very emotional, but the build up to that, shooting it was really. I had this 10-year-old boy in my hand, and I'm keeping both of us afloat with one arm because I can't move my feet because I got two divers holding my feet below me who are about to pull me under. I'm fine. I grew up swimming in lakes and all my life, but to have that sensation of somebody pulling you underwater, especially when you've got the life of a 10-year-old, little actor in your hand, and you're trying to keep him afloat, and he's got to play dead. It was a little overwhelming, and it was definitely unforgettable. But we got through it, and it turned out to be an awesome shot.
That's a great story. Jared?
Sure.
You know what? I've had some time to think. Well, I'm going to go back to a scene in Wendigo that we did at the very, second episode of the year. And I remember there was just such a long period of time between the pilot and Wendigo. It was, from March, April till July. And there was this one particular scene that Jensen and I did on stage where he's got Dad's journal. He's saying, this is what it's about. And Sam is saying, I got to find Dad. And I remember we had a huge day that day. We had like 8 or 9 pages of dialogue. And Jensen and I realized that we had to do this scene. We're like, oh, crap. Like, what? Like, let's go memorize it, my trailer. We sat down in my trailer, and there was an acting coach that I work with, and
8 or 9.
Cameron Thorpe there with us. He kind of pushed and prodded me a little bit, and I don't know what he did to Jensen, but we were... I felt like, I think this is what Eric was envisioning. Like, I really felt... For some reason, there's one of those times when you finish a scene and you're like, wow, I don't know where that came from, but I don't know, whatever.
I remember seeing the dailies on that, too. We were just through the roof. It was incredible.
It says a lot. It says a lot about him.
My favorite scene is a really quiet scene, and it's at the end of the Faith episode. And that whole episode was really about, I think, very topical for today.
With Julie Benz.
What's real faith. And Julie Benz comes in, has a... scene with Jensen, and Jensen says to her, I'm not much for praying, but I'll pray for you. And she said, well, that's a miracle right there. And I thought that I thought it was really sweet. I thought it was incredibly well acted. If people were listening, I think that probably was our finest moment to say something semi-political and be on the right side of that. I just hope it affected people the way it affected me.
The scene when Dean first calls his father in home and tells him to come to Lawrence, and just the way that Jensen was able to try to put up those walls, but the walls kept breaking down, and that was amazing. But all those amazing scenes aside, everyone's given such classy answers. I have to say that when the dude stuck his hand in the disposal in home, and then the monkey starts clapping, and we had that shot beneath the sink, and you could actually see all the goo come out. And I said, and we shot it in dailies. I said, they'll never let us use that, and we used it. And it's more probably than any other scare sequence in the show. It's the one that people watch, and they can't even keep their eyes on the screen. And to me, that's sort of the fun of getting the effect out of the audience. So I'm going to say the garbage disposal scene in home.
this series really gave him the opportunity to shine. The same thing with Jensen. I mean, Jensen got to be, I think, in bigger roles prior to this, which is probably why they cast him first. But this really was a game changer and a career changer for, I think, everyone involved. So kudos to them for turning something so modest into something so big and cool and well produced and well written more than anything else. For me, my personal favorites across the board are likely the more emotional moments where they reveal, the big reveal and explaining why. But I just love everything about this show. I love everything. This was an interesting way to do this show, and I appreciate you guys being patient and understanding and cool and so supportive through all of this process as I went through all of these different little segments and specials. And thank you guys, all of your comments and your suggestions. We take them very seriously. And if you really want to have some power in and say into what we watch next and what kind of shows we do next and what kind of fandoms we take on next, the best way to do that is to leave comments and support us over at our Patreon. So I'm going to leave the link in the description here. So there the text is. At least I hope and assume our editor puts it in here. We are going through some huge changes, and this is me giving you a heads up in advance. You have a lot to look forward to over on our YouTube and on our Patreon. Yeah, this was fun, and look forward to next week when Missy and I return to Supernatural Season 4 Part 2, I guess is what you could call it. So thanks again. This was awesome. You're the best. Bye, guys. Oh, and this was super naturally. Of course.
Are we watching this time?
I just talked over you.
Should we do it again?
Nah, let's keep.
No.
Yeah.
Are
It's
we
rough.
any good at this? It's like we didn't do this, but you know what? If you want to see if we're better at it, like, subscribe, and stay notified, and go over to Patreon.
Patreon, yeah, and
Yeah, we
if
get
you're
better.
bored,
I promise.
There's
It's
other
fine.
episodes
No,
over
this
there
is,
too.
check those out. They're
yeah,
better.
right over there.